Welcome to Lee Kiao Jung channel. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to support me in creating more meaningful videos.
Today, we continue following the fragile journey of Sung Luen. After being forced to leave the abandoned house she had worked so hard to clean and prepare, she quietly returns to the small school to pick up her daughter. There are no angry words, no tears in front of others, only silence and exhaustion carried in her eyes. Mother and daughter walk hand in hand along the familiar road they have traveled so many times before. The path looks the same, yet everything feels different. Each step forward is heavier than the last, because deep inside, both of them share the same unspoken fear. They do not know where they will sleep tonight. They do not know what tomorrow will bring. The sun begins to lower, casting long shadows on the ground as they walk. The world moves on around them, unaware of the uncertainty pressing on their hearts. Still, they keep going, because stopping is not an option. In that quiet moment, with nothing but each other, they continue walking, searching for a place they can once again call home.
The afternoon shadows begin to lengthen across the ancient forest, bringing with them the characteristic chill of the highlands as the sun slowly retreats behind the distant mountain ranges. Mother and daughter arrive at a small, secluded stream where the water moves with a gentle, glassy clarity over stones that have been smoothed into round, perfect shapes by the passage of centuries. The steady murmur of the flowing water acts as a rhythmic, wordless music, filling the quiet void that surrounds them. There are no signs of civilization here. There are no familiar, stilted houses perched on the hillsides, no distant crowing of roosters, no neighbors calling out to one another across the fields, and certainly no curling smoke rising from any kitchen but the one they are about to make. There are only trees, wild grass, river stones, and the endless, indifferent flow of water. It is a desolate place, a corner of the world not designed for human settlement. Yet, in this present moment, amidst the extremity of their circumstances, it is the only place they can call home. Sung Luen gently lowers their meager belongings onto a patch of dry sand right at the water's edge. Her shoulders slump slightly, shedding the physical weight that has pressed down on her during the long day of trekking through forests and wading through creeks, though the burden in her mind remains heavy and immovable. She stands still for a moment, her eyes slowly scanning the entire area. She is not merely admiring the scenery, she is calculating. With the instinct of a mother and the sharp eye of someone accustomed to the wind and fog, she reads the light to determine how long it will be before darkness swallows this place whole. She observes the direction of the wind to decide where to position the fire safely. She touches the earth to test its moisture, seeking a dry spot to lay their heads. There's no roof to block the sun or rain, no walls to break the wind, no real protection against the night that will soon descend. The nakedness of nature here is both a threat and a refuge. But then, Sung Luen takes a deep, quiet breath and nods slightly to herself. This will have to be enough. At least for tonight, they have fresh water, they have dry ground, and they have each other. There's no time for regret and no energy left to spare for fear. Fear is a luxury when the stomach is empty and the black night is waiting. Without exchanging many words, mother and daughter begin the work of preparing for dinner and sleep. The harsh reality of survival has taught them a core lesson. Action matters far more than conversation. The silence between them is not born of distance, but of a profound understanding, a synchronization forged through hardship. Together, they walk along the bank of the stream, their feet sinking lightly into the damp, cool sand. The first and most critical mission, firewood. They stoop to search for dry branches, twigs that have snapped from high above, and pieces of dry wood that the sun has bleached and dried. Every time they bend down, they are reclaiming what the forest has discarded. The work is slow, but it is shared. The little girl, though her hands are still young and tender, mimics her mother, diligently picking up every small twig she can find. Sung Luen snaps long branches into shorter lengths, the dry crack echoing crisply in the quiet air. The thin twigs are bundled for kindling, the larger logs are set aside to sustain the burn. Each piece of wood is handled with care and purpose. They know better than anyone the price of laziness. Once the curtain of night falls, finding fuel becomes not only difficult, but dangerous. In this wild, unforgiving place, dry wood is not just fuel, it is life. It is warmth when the frost begins to settle and the air turns bone-chillingly cold. It is the light that pushes back the invisible terrors lurking in the shadows. And most importantly, it is the thin line between gnawing hunger and a hot meal. Every branch they collect carries a massive responsibility. Back on the sand, Sung Lian kneels, beginning to arrange the wood into a small pyramid structure. Her movements are calm, decisive, and practiced, shaped by experience rather than instruction. She shields the spark from the breeze with her body, striking a light. At first, the flame flickers weakly, wavering as if it is afraid to exist in this vast, damp space. But then, with the patience and skill of a firekeeper, the flame catches on to the dry twigs, growing larger, bolder, and stronger. Soon, a small fire is burning steadily. Its warm orange glow begins to push back the shadows creeping in from the dense forest. The heat radiates outward, touching their cold hands and warming their faces. For the first time since their arrival, this desolate space feels slightly less empty and cold. The fire acts as a small but firm declaration of human presence amidst the wild nature. Sung Lian takes the old blackened metal pot and walks to the water's edge. She rinses it thoroughly in the clear, cold stream, then carefully pours in the last of the rice remaining in their bag. The amount is meager, barely enough to line the stomachs of 2 people, but she treats it as if she were handling the most precious gems on earth. In a way, she is. This rice is not just starch, it represents effort, endurance, thrift, and the ticket that allows them to step into tomorrow. She places the pot over the fire, adjusting the 3 stones that form the tripod until they are perfectly stable. Her eyes follow the tongues of flame licking around the soot-stained bottom of the pot, waiting for the water to boil. As they wait for the rice to cook, the world around them seems to slow down. The crackling of the wood blends with the sound of the stream to create a soothing, natural symphony. The sharp scent of wood smoke begins to mingle with the smell of damp earth, decaying leaves, and the crisp freshness of the spring water. There is no rush here, no pressure of time, only the quiet rhythm of nature continuing as it has for thousands of years. But Sung Lian knows they cannot simply sit and wait. The darkness is rushing in, and the cold dew will soon soak into their skin. She stands and gestures gently to her daughter. Together they walk towards the nearby greenery where wild banana trees grow along the forest edge. With capable hands, they cut large, broad banana leaves, their green surfaces still catching the fading light of the day. They also pull up handfuls of tall, wild grass, shaking the dirt free from the roots. These leaves and grasses will become their roof, their mattress, and their blanket for the night. It will not be as solid as brick and stone, nor as enduring as timber, but it will be a fragile membrane protecting them from the cold ground and the noxious night dew. For now, that is enough. They carry the materials back, stacking them neatly beside the fire. The sun has now sunk completely below the mountain line, leaving behind streaks of deep orange and purple on the horizon, painting a sunset that is breathtakingly beautiful, yet haunting. The long shadows stretching across the sand serve as a reminder that daylight has run out. Back by the fire, the pot begins to boil. White steam rises into the air, carrying with it the simple, rustic smell of cooking rice. It is a scent capable of soothing the soul, bringing a strange sense of peace even in the most desperate of circumstances. To hungry travelers, the smell of cooked rice is the smell of hope. Mother and daughter sit close to the fire, warming their thin hands over the heat. They speak softly, sharing short sentences that do not need to be loud. Sometimes they smile at each other. Sometimes they simply sit in silence, listening to the sounds of the night forest beginning to wake up. The future remains a thick fog. They do not know where their feet will take them tomorrow or how long they can sustain this nomadic life, sleeping under the open sky. There's no clear plan, no map to guide them, only a steely determination to keep moving. But in this present moment, amidst the extremity of their circumstances, it is the only place they can call home. watching her daughter's face glowing in the firelight. On that young face, tiredness is impossible to hide, but shining in her eyes is an absolute trust in her mother. That trust weighs heavily on Sung Luyen's heart. It is both a massive burden of responsibility and an endless source of strength. She knows she is not allowed to collapse. She must continue, no matter how thorny the path ahead may be, because this little life depends entirely on her. The rice is finally cooked. The grains have swelled, stark white and soft. Sung Luyen carefully lifts the pot from the fire and places it on the sand to cool. They have no porcelain bowls, no plates, not even proper spoons. Instead, she takes the fresh banana leaves she washed earlier, deftly folding them into square, vibrant green makeshift bowls. After finishing their meal, Sung Luyen does not allow herself much rest. The daylight is fading, and she knows that night will arrive sooner than expected. She stands up, gently brushes the sand from her hands, and begins preparing to build a shelter for the night. Using the banana leaves and wild grass they gathered earlier, she starts forming the structure of a small hut. There are no tools, no ropes, only her hands, instinct, and experience shaped by hardship. She presses wooden sticks into the ground, creating a simple frame, then carefully layers the banana leaves one by one, overlapping them so rain and wind will have less chance of passing through. Her movements are slow but steady. Each leaf is placed with intention, each adjustment made with care. This shelter will not be strong, and it will not last long, but it must be enough to protect her daughter through the night. Her daughter stays close, handing her leaves, watching quietly. There is no need for words. They understand each other without speaking. In this moment, survival is something they share. As the structure takes shape, the air grows cooler. The sounds of the forest become clearer. The rustling of leaves, the distant calls of insects preparing for night. Sung Luyen tightens the final layers of grass across the roof, creating a barrier against the cold air that will settle in after sunset. When the hut is finally finished, she steps back and looks at it. It is small, fragile, and humble. Yet to them, it is more than just leaves and grass. It is shelter. It is safety. It is a place where they can close their eyes without fear. She gently calls her daughter inside, arranging the ground so it will be softer to rest on. As they sit together inside the banana leaf shelter, the outside world begins to darken. For tonight, this small hut is their home. And in a life where nothing is certain, that is enough. After the banana leaf shelter is finally finished, the sky has already begun to fade into late afternoon. The sunlight grows softer, weaker, slipping quietly behind the trees. A gentle breeze moves across the stream, carrying the cool air of the coming evening. Sung Luyen sits down beside the fire with her daughter and carefully opens the pot from earlier. Inside, there is only a small amount of rice left from their midday meal. No vegetables, no soup, just plain, dry rice. Yet she treats it with care, as if it were something rare and valuable. She divides the remaining rice evenly, making sure her daughter has enough. There are no bowls, only folded banana leaves still warm from the fire. They sit close together, sharing the last of their food as daylight slowly disappears around them. Each bite is eaten slowly, not because the food is plentiful, but because it is precious. For them, having rice to eat is no longer something ordinary. It is a luxury in this moment, a quiet blessing in a difficult life. They chew in silence at first, listening to the sounds of the forest settling into evening. The fire crackles softly, The stream continues its gentle flow, unchanged by their struggles. Then small smiles appear. A few soft words are exchanged. Even with so little, they eat with contentment. Hunger teaches gratitude. It reminds them that survival is built on small things: warm food, a shared moment, and the strength to endure one more night. As they finish the last grains of rice, Sung Luyan wipes the pot clean and places it aside. The fire burns lower now, its light flickering against the darkening trees. Shadows stretch longer across the sand, signaling that night is close. She looks at her daughter, who sits quietly beside her, tired but calm. In that moment, Sung Luyan feels both the weight of responsibility and the quiet power of love. She knows tomorrow will bring more uncertainty, more challenges. But for now, they have eaten, they are together, they are safe. In a world where everything feels unstable, this simple meal becomes a reminder of what truly matters. Not abundance, but resilience. Not comfort, but connection. And as evening settles in, that is more than enough. As the sky slowly darkens, night begins to settle over the small stream. The last traces of daylight fade behind the trees, and the air grows cooler with each passing moment. The world becomes quieter, softer, as if preparing itself for rest. Sun Luan leads her daughter to the edge of the stream. Kneeling beside the water, they gently wash their hands and feet. The water is cold, sending a brief shiver through their bodies, but it also brings relief after a long, exhausting day. The sound of the stream flows steadily, calm and unchanging, washing away the dust and fatigue of their journey. When they finish, they return to the fire. The flames are smaller now, but still warm enough to offer comfort. Mother and daughter sit close together, holding their hands near the fire, letting the heat ease the chill from their skin. No words are needed. In the quiet glow of the firelight, their presence is enough. Around them, the forest comes alive with nighttime sounds. Insects begin their soft chorus. Leaves rustle gently in the breeze. The darkness deepens, wrapping the stream, the trees, and the small shelter in silence. After warming themselves, Sun Luan carefully tends the fire, making sure it is safe before the night grows colder. She then guides her daughter toward the banana leaf hut they built earlier. Inside, the shelter is simple and narrow, but it blocks the wind and holds the warmth of their bodies. They lie down side by side, listening to the distant sounds of water and the fading crackle of the fire outside. The ground beneath them is hard, but exhaustion makes rest come easily. As darkness fully takes over, the world grows still. There are no city lights, no voices, no distractions, only nature and quiet survival. In this fragile shelter, beneath a sky they cannot see, Sun Luan closes her eyes, knowing tomorrow will bring new challenges. But for tonight, they are safe. The next morning begins quietly, awakened by the soft songs of birds welcoming a new day. Pale light filters through the trees, resting gently on the small banana leaf shelter by the stream. The night has passed, and once again they have survived. Sung Luyen opens her eyes and listens for a moment. The water still flows steadily nearby, unchanged, patient. She gently wakes her daughter, and together they prepare for the day ahead. There is no rush, only routine shaped by necessity. After a short walk, Sung Luyen brings her daughter to school. She watches quietly as the little girl disappears behind the gate, blending into a world that still holds structure, safety, and hope. For her child, school is more than learning. It is a doorway to a future Sung Luyen dreams of, even when her own path feels uncertain. Once her daughter is safe, Sung Luyen turns back alone. She walks the familiar path toward the small shelter by the stream. The morning air is cold, and her hands are stiff. Reaching the hut, she kneels beside the fire pit and carefully lights a small flame. Slowly, warmth returns to her fingers as she holds them close to the fire. There is work to be done. She fills the pot with water from the stream and begins washing clothes. Each piece is scrubbed carefully, rinsed clean, and wrung dry by hand. The movements are repetitive, quiet, almost meditative. This is not just washing clothes, it is maintaining dignity in a life stripped of comfort. After finishing, Sung Luyen cuts a long, thin piece of bamboo. She fits it between two tree trunks, creating a simple pole. One by one, she hangs the wet clothes to dry in the morning breeze. They sway gently in the sunlight, a small sign of order in an otherwise fragile existence. She steps back and looks at her work. It is simple, it is humble, but it is hers. Life here is not easy. It is built on small efforts, on fire warmed by patience, on clean clothes dried by the wind, on love carried silently through exhaustion. Sung Luyen understands that survival is not only about staying alive, but about continuing with purpose, even when the future is unclear. This is the value of life, learning to move forward with what little you have, refusing to give up, and protecting hope for those who depend on you. If this story touches your heart, if you believe in resilience, strength, and the quiet courage of everyday survival, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps share these real stories of life, endurance, and hope. Thank you for watching and for walking this journey together.